Could Critical Role stand to learn a few things from Dimension 20's record-breaking Gauntlet at the Garden show?
Why would you say something so controversial yet so brave?
Welcome to the Character Sheet, your home for fantasy and TTRPG news. Before we talk comparisons between Dimension 20 and Critical Role's two new live shows, why not take a second to hit those like and subscribe buttons to help us keep this content coming? And then, let's dive into the news. Critical Role and Dimension 20 both released their big live shows from the spring this week, with Critical Role's live show from Chicago hitting wide release on YouTube this Tuesday, the same day that the record-breaking Dimension 20 Live Gauntlet at the Garden premiered on Dropout. And while both shows were a massive success that were clearly enjoyed by their audiences, they were about as different as they could possibly be. So could Critical Role actually stand to take some pointers from the massive success of Dimension 20's Madison Square Garden live show? Let's find out. Critical Role's Total Party Kill live show from Chicago has become somewhat divisive among the fans, with a few major issues that keep being brought up across social media and Reddit regarding the performance. The first big issue is that the first half of the show, or slightly more than half of the show time-wise, was basically not an actual play at all, but a series of weird improv games and competitions between the cast, with Matt Mercer and Robbie Damon loosely serving as game show hosts. While we have seen instances where game shows featuring actual play casts can be absolutely amazing, just look at half the shows on Dropout if you want an example of that, this felt a lot more slapdash and kind of thrown together, and lacked a ton of the polish you would expect from a production as big as Critical Role. The games felt kind of simple, and they didn't really have any connection to the characters or the narrative, and it just came off as the cast basically goofing around on stage for 2 hours, kind of aimlessly. While there were some definite highlights, such as Critical Role CEO Travis Willingham busting out the Worm in a dance-off against Mercer Ray, a lot of fans felt like it was a sort of fun but low-effort kind of entertainment that would make for a better pre-show party viewing experience than the actual live show itself, especially for a show this massive at the start of your big world tour. The second problem is one that's been an ongoing issue with Critical Role live shows for a while now, and that is the show still struggling with how to visually represent combat and engage the fans when the actual play half of the live show began. The lack of battle maps or other visual aids and the reliance entirely on theater of the mind is a major departure from the kind of content Critical Role fans are used to, and also came off as that sort of previously mentioned low effort and low budget look given the resources the cast has at their disposal. They travel with dozens of producers and other cast members to help them put these things together. And this issue has popped up many times, as you've seen in the Daggerheart Christmas live show or even the Mighty Nine Echoes of the Solstice show in London. While theater of the mind is a fantastic way to play the game, when fans have grown used to seeing incredibly detailed battle maps and miniatures to represent combat and help them keep track of the action, when you pull those away for the live shows, when you found ways to utilize them in the past, that's sort of never really sat well with some critters. So how has the Dimension 20 live show from Madison Square Garden revealed the answers to some of these problems? Well, for starters, let's talk about the visual aspects we just mentioned. While Brennan also stuck to theater of the mind for Gauntlet at the Garden, they found some interesting ways to keep the audience involved visually and to represent the combat, like projecting a massive box of doom onto the floor for their show, so that everyone could see it, and then rolling a massive dice inside of it for crucial rolls. Or even just having a big light-up screen to show off the number of dice rolled during combat. Just having these little visual touches to help the audience keep track of what's happening, and to keep the audience invested really helps. And Dimension 20 was much more limited in terms of the theater, because despite the fact that Madison Square Garden is huge, it is set up as a theater in the round, so they can't exactly have a massive projector screen behind them like Critical Role can do when they do their live shows on a much more traditional stage. Honestly, the lack of battle maps and minis for a show the size of Critical Role just comes off as weird and maybe even a little bit low effort when you see the kind of visuals that Dimension 20 pulled off despite all those constraints from Madison Square Garden. Critical Role doesn't need to emulate them all the way with the crazy pyrotechnics and like the fireballs and the other visuals they pulled off, but just projecting a battle map onto a massive screen behind them could be an incredibly easy fix for a production of their size, especially since we've seen them do that in the past. The second thing Dimension 20 showed us was Gauntlet at the Garden, and something that Critical Role normally does very, very well, is they stuck on brand. People came to see them as fans of the Dimension 20 actual play, and what they got was a classic Dimension 20 actual play. They brought back their entire The Unsleeping City campaign cast, and they tied it directly into that show's storyline. They jumped right into the action, and it never let up until they left the stage. Normally with live shows like The Mighty Nine, Echoes of the Solstice, Critical Role does exactly the same thing. So deviating from that for the start of their big live show world tour, and having half of the entire show being something that wasn't an actual play, was kind of a big shock to the system for the fans. And Dimension 20 and past Critical Role live shows prove that that's probably not the formula that works. Going back to actually delivering a full Critical Role experience to the fans should not be a problem. And based on how they're marketing their Australia live shows as like the meeting of two different campaigns coming together, that should get them right back on track when we next see them live in Australia. So should fans be concerned for the remaining Critical Role live shows? Honestly, we fully expect this Chicago show to be an outlier. It almost feels like they were kind of rushed into it as the first show and maybe didn't have time to fully set up what they wanted. It's hard to say. But the next dates all have major ties to existing campaigns to draw on, like the wedding of Jester and Ford, or the aforementioned teaming up of the parties for the Australia shows. And we expect those to be much, much more like the Critical Role fans know and love. The one thing we may not be getting is the return of battle maps and minis for combat, which is still something of a shame considering what a big part of the normal show they are and how relatively easy it is for them to still do them during a live show. But if that's the only thing missing and Critical Role returns to running full, narrative-driven live shows, you will hear zero complaints for us, and we cannot wait to see what they've got cooked up for Australia. So what did you think? Did you enjoy the Dimension 20 live show, or did you prefer the looser structure of Critical Role live in Chicago? Let us know down in the comments, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons.